Hey everybody, this is Perch. All right, here comes the video I don't want to do. so, but I want to give you some commentary. And look, I'm giving my honest thoughts. All right, I'm not a Tom King fan. I haven't been a Tom King fan for quite some time. I think I liked the Tom King Vision series, but even when that was going on, I remember having conversations with people around. There's a little bit of a gimmick here, and it was the writing of Vision. While it was a good comic, there were certain gimmicks and certain I don't know, cheap tricks sounds too negative, but there were certain literary elements that were used in that was kind of increasing the feeling of dread, but you know, it weren't necessarily earned. It like this is a kind of douchebag review people will give things where it's like, well, it's a good comic, but it was cheaply done, and I don't want to be that person. But there's an element of that is true here with Vision. But I did enjoy Vision, and then Tom King goes over to DC. He's done a number of comics now. I did not like his Batman run, and I didn't like it out the jump. He was kind of the person who took over from Scott Snyder. You might remember that Bendis was coming into DC at the time, and there was this belief that Bendis would want Batman, but instead Bendis went to Superman, so Tom King went to Batman, and it wasn't for me. And I did dislike again. It felt like the tricks, and I'm using kind of air quotes here, that were used in Vision were on full display in Batman. It was a lot of kind of misleading storytelling, a lot of repetition. No, I didn't like the bat, cat, cat, bat, bat, cat, bat. I didn't go. That was frustrating. It had a kind of aborted end because the comic was circling the drain. The sales had dropped, and it just wasn't. People were not. It was losing the plot and losing the audience slowly but surely, and so they moved him off. They shortened the run. They got on to safer, more stable, more predictable ground. Tom King's done a number of miniseries. He did I mean, he did Mr. Miracle, and then he did 800 more. No, I mean, he did Jenny Sparks, he did Rorschach, he did The Human Target, he did Danger Street. I'm forgetting several, but he did a number of those. And my complaint with Tom King is always that even if the comic story is very, very different, it still feels like the same bit. It feels like he's using the same tricks, the same general plot elements, the same kind of at times cheap storytelling. It doesn't feel earned. And again, I know that's a douchey way to say stuff, but it just doesn't feel. It feels manipulative, I think, is the best way that I could kind of describe his books. And then he went on to Wonder Woman, and immediately out the gate, we get what I thought was a very eye-rolling, contrived storyline about there's an Amazon who is who beat up and killed some guy in a bar who was coming on to her, and forces in the U.S. who don't like women and are misogynists and our villains are going to kind of manipulate public perception against Amazons, and then that's going to put Wonder Woman on the run. And I hate that concept of a storyline, no matter who the writer is, because it always seems annoying. I hate it over in Batman too, where it's been used a lot more. The problem I have with it is DC does these major storylines where it's like, this character, Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman or whoever it happens to be, saved the multiverse. They are a hero that saved everything. Oh shit, you're telling me that some other Amazon from the island, beat somebody up, and so now, a big portion of the country is going to turn against them? Like, I don't, it always is crap. Like with Batman, I don't see how he is a kind of universe-saving member of the Justice League who gave his life on one occasion to help reality against Darkseid. But now it's like, well, shit, he may be responsible for a murder in the back streets of Gotham. Put on an APB. The cops are against Batman. I roll my eyes at this stuff because I don't think you get it both ways. You can't have, on one hand, like this is a hero of the universe that everybody loves, and then, 3 issues later, it's like they're a pariah. I mean, with Batman, it's even dumber because you're like, Commissioner Vandal Savage says Batman's mean and bad. Yeah, I know he, in comic book time, roughly 3 weeks ago, saved us all from the events of, death metal. But, he's bad now. So with Wonder Woman and the idea that, somebody is going to manipulate the public perception of the country and turn people against the Amazons, it's like, again, I mean, Wonder Woman, we're going with, Wonder Woman is, everybody's going to turn against Wonder Woman. It's not believable. I understand it's comics world. You don't have to have a logic for everything, but it still always feels just phony to me. So I haven't been a fan of this run, and I feel it's been overwritten. And by the way, as long as I'm getting all this stuff out, Tom King does have this problem where he likes to repeat words over and over, whether it's, Dark Side is, or Batcat, or, this is a common refrain where he likes to just, use repetition to kind of build tension. So, having said all that, 6 minutes into this, again, I'm not a fan of Tom King, not a quote corporate shill for DC or Tom King. By and large, I think highly, highly overrated. I'm going to roll out what I feel is the faintest possible praise, which will feel like a knife to the heart betrayal to some of you. The current arc in Wonder Woman, which is the Mouseman Island arc, is not bad. To me, this is the height of the run. Now, granted, that's not exactly huge praise. When I said I didn't like the run, I didn't think the run was very good. I thought it was dull and overwrought, and I just, and just bad. I think it's been a bad run. This is the best of the bad run, which is not me saying, hey, everybody, I've got such a boner for how amazing this Tom King stuff is. It's saying, this has been the best of it. The reason why this isn't even a defense. Okay, I'm not, by the way, nowhere here am I suggesting you run out and buy this comic, but he is doing one thing that I think is interesting, and maybe it's by accident. I don't know. But basically, the plot of this thing is that a bunch of people got tired of living in areas with superheroes and supervillains fighting, and just, and they had the belief that superheroes, by their nature, brings violence upon them because supervillains, the superhero exists and the supervillains pop up out of the woodwork to combat them. Other, universal threats come and they destroy life for a lot of innocent people. And so a bunch of people set sail for a private island somewhere where they're going to have their own community. And the rule is the governing body says no superheroes, no, no super people, basically. And so they all go there. And sure enough, one of the guys who goes there is psychotic, who has, through some kind of extra science connects him to mice and to rats, or maybe just mice. And so he's got some power over them. I granted this is dumb, and Mouseman is a villain from the Silver Age. It's been, an old DC villain. That was always kind of a little bit of a joke. And now he's being kind of called up and given, made into a bigger threat. And the origin story of has some weird bond between mice is dumb, but so is the origin story of got caught in a nuclear blast and became the Hulk, or got, communicates with ants, or any of the other dumb shit that goes on in comics. I mean, if we're drawing the line there, then 90% of the heroes suddenly get eliminated by their wacky origin stories. Parker was bitten by a spider, for God's sake. That's not where we're going to draw the line of criticism. But the story that gets explored is, well, what happens? You have this island here with no super people, and sure enough, a kind of psychotic lower level villain can run amok and basically terrorize everybody, and create a complete psychotic state where people are forced to only read things that are in service to him. And I devote everything of their lives to him. And that's the basic premise is, you've got something with no heroes, and, bad things happen. In this case, the bad thing happens from somebody who arguably wouldn't be a threat in most cases, but because there's zero superhero presence whatsoever, it allowed this evil to kind of fester, take hold, and just kind of run amok in the whole city and basically screw with everyone. There's a sense of dread in this comic because you've got these people who are being absolutely terrorized by this, somewhat joke of a villain, but with no superheroes around, that's kind of what happens. That's a decent story to explore. And Wonder Woman goes there, but the other Batman and Superman are like, you can't go there because the rules say no superheroes. And if you do this, it's you're putting the Justice League in jeopardy because you're violating the agreement they had. And Wonder Woman was like, fuck it, I'm going in anyway. And yeah, she straps a child to her back because that's part of the earlier plot. And is that a little stupid? Yes, but given she can't trust the other people around her and she's on mixed ground with the Justice League, if she leaves her baby there, then what, or the baby there, then what's going to happen? So there's a bunch of elements here that are like, it makes sense why she would take the child, even though it's going to put the child in danger. But the plot does a decent job of underscoring the a kind of a creeping dread of a fairly gross, fairly weird villain that is psychotic, that is taking a community there that wanted no heroes and basically absolutely destroyed them mentally, psychologically. And Wonder Woman's in there to kind of clean it up, but she's on unstable ground. And so the guy has gotten more powerful as a result of being unchallenged, and there is the rub. So, again, not recommending this comic. I wouldn't suggest you run out and buy it, but some interesting things going on there. And I feel like I crap on creators on a regular basis sometimes. And so when I see something that I'm like, that's actually a pretty cool idea, you know, fair's fair. I think I should, own up to it and say it. That's the case here. Again, not a big fan of Tom King. This is the weakest possible review or suggestion for something that Tom King does. But, I feel like I'd be a massive hypocrite if I didn't point out when I liked something. And, this is okay. So there you have it. Are you reading this arc? Does it sound interesting? Here's a big question for you. Does it sound interesting to you, but you have no interest in actually reading it? That's a completely fair point of view. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to call me crazy. But if you do come in and you go like, well, Tom Perch is always shilling for Tom King, then I do fully suggest that the other viewers who actually listen to the video make fun of you horribly. And yeah, the overuse of Mouseman Knows and Mouseman Hears All and all that kind of stuff is weird. It's dumb. It's classic Tom King and how he overwrites things. But at least in this one case, it actually helps fill in the psycho nature of this whole island and everything he's done to the people there, which that's, it reinforces that. Anyway, let me know if you're reading this or not or whatever. And thanks for listening.